Hello. For tonight's Grizzly Tale, I'm going to read you a story from More Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids. These are cautionary tales that I wrote for lovers of squeam. Tonight's story is called The Pie Man. Donald was a sucker. He entered the world sucking, and when his time came to leave, he exited that way too. Sucking put Donald in a pie, and this is how it happened. Silly little sucker thumb sucks until his digits numb, ignoring what he knows is true. The pie man has a rendezvous. Crusty, flaky pastry pie, chop a thumb to hold crust high, meaty, sweety, bone and nail, cures a sucker without fail. When Donald was born, he was sucking his thumb. When Donald was weighed by the nurse, he was sucking his thumb. When Donald was cuddled, when Donald was fed, when Donald was changed, when Donald was asleep, when Donald was screaming, he was sucking his thumb. "Why does he do it?" asked his mother. "Maybe he likes the taste," speculated his father. "Maybe it tastes of chocolate or rice pudding." "Or stewed apples and custard," rhapsodized the large West Indian midwife, who loved stewed apples and custard. "Maybe his thumb's growing out of his gums by mistake," roared his gross Uncle Bert, who thought he was a comedian but was in fact a bore. "One thing's for sure," said the midwife. "If he doesn't stop that sucking soon, the pie man will come and chop his thumbs off." "I beg your pardon?" gasped Donald's mother, who was so shocked that she nearly dropped the baby. "Who's the pie man?" "A pie man, patty man, philo, fellow, they're all the same person. He uses little thumbs to hold up the pastry tops on his pies," she explained, "to let the steam out, to keep the pastry crusty." "Thumbs?" shrieked Donald's mother. "Whose thumbs?" "Oh, thumbsucker's thumbs," replied the midwife. "Little wrinkled white tooth-mark thumbs." There was an unholy pause while Donald's mother considered her next question carefully. "But if he only uses the thumbs to hold up the pastry on his pies," she whispered, "what does he do with the rest of the child?" "Well, he cuts that off," smiled the midwife. "Thumbs is all he needs. Cheerio, darling." On the way home, Donald sucked his thumb with an orchestral range of loud, sloppy, slurpy noises, while his parents brooded on the midwife's gruesome words. Donald's father became really rather cross. "If the pie man tries to perform a double thumbectomy on my son, You'll what?" scoffed his wife. "Well, I'll beat him up," he yelled. "I'll punch his nose. I'll throw water in his face. I'll slap him with a fish slice." "Well, that's hardly likely to scare away a supernatural demon, is it?" she said. "There is only one way to protect Donald from this beast, and that's to stop the boy from sucking his thumb." She was right, of course, and Donald's father was rather relieved that he wouldn't have to go head-to-head with a crazy half-baked chef who was two blackbirds short of a pie. The theory was impeccable. In practice, however, it was less easy to achieve. Donald was only 1 week old and did not want to stop sucking his thumb. He did not want to listen to reason either. "What's the matter with you, Donald?" yelled his over-anxious father. "Do you want your thumbs chopped off?" What did Donald care? He didn't know what chopped off meant, let alone what thumbs were, and when his parents wedged their feet against the wall and tried to prise his thumb from his mouth, Donald screamed and cried and lashed out with his little feet. It was clear to his parents that Donald was no ordinary sucker. He was a super sucker with a suck more powerful than the single sucker foot of an upside-down ceiling snail, and a suck that strong needs to be satisfied. which was why Donald's parents rushed out and bought him a dummy. They made the switch at night, while Donald was asleep. They tickled his nose with a feather, and when he opened his mouth to sneeze, they whipped out his thumb and pressed the dummy between his lips. By the time Donald woke up 6 hours later, he was already used to the rubber teat. He was still sucking, you see, and that was all that mattered. But what was a perfect solution to the Pie Man problem swiftly developed into a problem of a different sort. As Donald grew up, the dummy became a feature of his face. It remained stuck in his mouth at all times and made him look like a bull with a ring through its nose. He sucked it in the shops, in the park, at school, in the pool, on the bus, at the cinema, at meal times, in the choir, and once, whilst playing blow football. He lost 323-0. By the time Donald was 10, the dummy was still plugged in his mouth. It was horribly old, disgustingly sticky, and somewhat furry around the edges. A dog would not have sucked it, but Donald did. He was addicted. "Well, he's a dummy-holic," announced the doctor. "Stand up, Donald, and repeat after me. My name is Donald, and I'm a dummy-holic." "My name is Donald, and I'm a dummy-holic," mumbled the boy through his rubber stopper. "What should we do?" worried his mother. "We tried to take the dummy away from him once, but his unplugged suck destroyed half the sitting room." "After he'd sucked the ornaments off the shelves and the knobs off the telly," explained Donald's father, "he sucked the carpet off the floor, the paper off the wall, and the door off its hinges." "Well, this is a powerful suck," acknowledged the doctor grimly. "But he's old enough to know better now. He's 10 years old and still looks like a baby. The dummy must go." Donald's parents tried to follow the doctor's orders, but getting rid of the dummy was easier said than done. One night, while Donald was supping his supper through a straw, his father sprang an ambush. He roller-skated through the kitchen, lassoed the dummy with a rope, and chucked it in the dustbin. Donald did not move from his seat. Then, with one almighty flex of his cheeks, he sucked the dummy back into his gob, bringing a dustbin lid, a fishy skeleton, and a rather startled cat crashing through the window after it. His parents buried the dummy under the patio, but Donald hired a mechanical digger and dug it up again. They hurled the dummy on top of a moving bus, but Donald chased it down the street by swinging from lamppost to lamppost like Tarzan. They even fed it to a live snake, but Donald just put his hand straight down the snake's throat, as he would if you were turning a sock inside out, and pulled the dummy back up. Then, on Donald's 11th birthday, his parents took him to Loch Ness for a treat. "A treat!" exclaimed Donald ungratefully. "This isn't a treat. This is just a lot of cold water and a few trees. We might see the monster." "The monster!" he scoffed. "I'll believe there's a monster when I see it." At which point his mother sprang her trap. She swooped on the dummy with a monkey wrench, twisted it out of his mouth, and hurled it into the loch. Donald did not hesitate. He plunged into the icy water and dived down into the inky depths to find his yummy dummy. But when he got to the bottom, he saw a strange shape ahead of him. It looked like a dinosaur with car tyres stuck in its throat. As Donald swam closer, he could see that it was Nessie, and sitting beside her was a tiny baby monster with Donald's dummy in its mouth. Nessie roared a fierce warning, and Donald knew that he was beaten. He kicked hard for the surface. "The dummy's gone," he said glumly as he stood dripping on the bank. "There's a monster sucking it now." Donald's parents danced a Highland reel and clapped their hands with joy. Their son was cured. But in this they had miscalculated, because although Donald had lost his dummy, his urge to suck was as strong as ever. On the way home, he did something that made his parents' blood freeze. Something he hadn't done since he was a tiny baby, something that rang a bell in a pie shop in Perth. He raised his hand to his chin, looked at his thumb as if disturbing some long-distant memory, and stuck it in his mouth. Donald's father slammed on the brakes and slewed across the road. "No!" he shouted. "Not the thumb! Take it out now!" wailed his mother, "or the pie man will get you." "Who?" slurped Donald. "He'll cut off your thumbs." "Not if I'm sucking them, he won't," mumbled the boy with the sucking power of a bull elephant. "This is dead delicious. I don't know why I haven't tried it before." In their panic, Donald's parents turned the car round, had scuba diving equipment and plunged into Loch Ness to retrieve the dummy. Donald's father had to show Nessie's baby how to suck its toes before she'd let him take it. But when he gave the dummy to his son said, "Oh, no thanks. Yuck. Thumbs for me from now on." And that was the end of that. Or should I say, him. That night, Donald retired to bed early to suck his thumbs. He was rotating them in his mouth, exploring their different smells and shapes and tastes with his nose and tongue, when he heard a bicycle skid to a halt on the pavement outside. There was a ping of a bell as someone dismounted, then a click at the front gate, and footsteps on the path. Donald jumped out of bed and ran to the window. He nudged open the curtains and peered out through the crack. A shiny black baker's bicycle was leaning on the lamppost outside, and a waft of wholesome, savoury cooking drifted in through Donald's open window. The doorbell rang. He heard his parents open the front door and caught a snatch of the distant conversation. "Pies?" said the voice of the stranger. "Go away!" screamed his mother, and the front door slammed. Donald watched the stranger step back onto the front path. He was wearing blue checked trousers, a black leather belt with a meat cleaver tucked inside, and a white chef's coat and hat. He was carrying a flat basket on his arm, laden with fresh, hot, steaming pies. He looked up at Donald's window, where Donald was sucking both thumbs together, and placed his basket on the ground. Donald heard his parents running up the stairs. "He's here!" they wailed. "Donald, wake up!" "I am awake," he mumbled. "Then open the door!" screamed his father. "And don't suck your thumb," howled his mother, "or he'll chop it off." "I'm not sucking my thumb," he laughed. "I'm sucking my thumbs." Outside, the uninvited chef sat cross-legged on the finger of steam that snaked up from his hot pies and rose magically towards Donald's window. He knocked on the glass. Donald slipped the latch with his nose and nudged the window open. "You must be the pie man," he muttered with his mouth full. "And you must be Donald," said the chef. "I hear you're a monumental sucker." "I can suck out a sheep's eyeball at 20 paces, boasted Donald. "Really?" said the pie man. "How useful." He clicked his fingers. A large circular pie dish leapt out of the basket on the front of his bike and flew up to the window. On the landing, Donald's parents pleaded with their son to let them in. "If you'd just like to place your thumbs on the dish," requested the floating pie man, sliding the cleaver from his belt. "I won't keep you any longer than I have to." But Donald had not stopped sucking since the day he was born, and he was not about to stop now. In fact, he sucked his thumbs even harder so that the pie man couldn't have them. "You won't get them out," he said. "I can suck forever." But this was not a wise tactic. "So you want to play games?" said the pie man, smiling in a have-it-your-own way. He grabbed Donald by the wrists and tried to tug the thumbs from his mouth, but they were stuck fast. "See," sniggered Donald, "I win, you lose." "There is more than one way to bake a pie," replied the pie man mysteriously. Then he stopped tugging on the thumbs, and with a flick and a twist he popped all of Donald into the dish. "What are you doing?" squealed the startled boy as the pie man threw a roll of short crust pastry over Donald's head. "Today," he cackled, "I am baking man pie." When Donald's parents finally pushed open the door, Donald had gone. Sitting on the window ledge, however, was a hot, steaming, succulent pie with a hot, steaming sucker thumb filling.